How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Dan and this is Rapway Outdoors, and in today's video I'm going to go over 5 items or categories of items that you need to bring with if you're going out ice fishing in a wheelhouse or an ice castle like this. Now, I've been running an ice castle or a wheelhouse for I'd say 15 years now or so, believe it or not, and these are things that have saved my butt in the past, or I have totally wish I had and ended up to have to come home or got in kind of a sticky situation because I didn't have these items. So if you're new to the ice castle fish house world, where you're taking a wheelhouse and going a long way out on the lake, maybe a long way from home, or you're somebody that's been doing this much longer than I have, this might give you some good ideas of what you could bring with to maybe save your butt, quite literally and figuratively. So yeah, and if you see anything in this list that I am forgetting, go ahead and drop me a comment down below and let me know. So let's get started. Alright, so the first item on this list is a backup heat source. And arguably, maybe the most important thing that could quite literally, potentially save your life, if nothing else, save a trip. So I bring 3 backup heat sources on every trip. Now that may seem excessive, but let me explain to you what I bring and why I bring that. So the first one is this large heat hog unit here. So I'm trying this one out this year. It's similar to like a double buddy heater. These units are safe to run indoors. Now obviously you want to be running a carbon monoxide detector. I actually have 2 of them in this fish house. Factory installed one and a backup. Also not a bad idea to crack a window if you are running this kind of unit. But this unit here, I've tested it out and unfortunately had to, and it will on high heat this fish house to a comfortable temp on its own, as long as the house is already up to temp. So if you wake up in the middle of the night and it's freezing, the furnace broke down on you for whatever reason, you can fire this guy up and you should be good to go. The second heat source I bring with is a electric space heater. Now, I bring the electric space heater for backups for the backup, I guess you could say. So this isn't something that I would typically run. If it's extremely cold outside and you're running your generator anyway, sometimes I'll fire this up just to help circulate heat. But it doesn't take up a ton of room. I put it underneath one of my bench seats here, and it's another source of heat in case all else fails. And the third source of heat that I bring, that I actually started with, and I would say this is the bare minimum. If you don't have or you can't afford a larger, like a big buddy heater or this heat hog, this is just a single cheap sunflower heater. It's missing the guard. Don't even know where I got it. I have to zip tie it together, but it works. And I have actually had to use this if one of our older fish houses, the furnace totally crapped out, I didn't have anything. And this guy right here kept us warm, and it was like 20 below and blowing wind. So bare minimum is to have a sunflower heater thrown underneath your back thing. You can grab a propane tank off the front of the house, as long as you didn't run out of propane, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But grab this guy, spin it onto your propane tank in the house, light it up, and this thing will cook you out of here. Now, the problem with these is they are not indoor safe. So, big disclaimer before everybody's pounding in the comments telling me you can't run that inside. Yeah, I know, but it's better than freezing to death, right? So, light this guy up, and I would not go back to bed. So I've got my family in here. If I had to use this in the middle of the night, I am cracking a window, and I am not going back to sleep. I am staying up, monitoring, making sure everything's okay, even with carbon monoxide detectors. So those are the 3 backup heat sources I bring to make sure we're not going to freeze and be able to at least get through the night. Because when do these things happen? 3 o'clock in the morning and it's 20 below outside. So let's jump into item number 2. Alright, now item number 2 on this list is more of a category than a specific item. Now this isn't limited to these items, but it should at least get your mind thinking of what else you could bring. So that item is parts, or list of item is parts. So parts for your furnace, parts for your generator, parts for maybe your truck, and parts for the fish house itself. So here are a few of the things I bring just to kind of get you thinking. So number 1 thing, an issue with furnaces that I've found is the regulator. These regulators are junk. They freeze up, the diaphragms go bad. I've had them do everything from just plug to leak to I don't know what goes on, but they just quit working and they don't supply enough propane to the furnace, or they just quit working altogether. So having a backup propane regulator, this is a brand new one, this stays in the fish house all the time. Another item on the list, sticking with heat, you've seen a theme here, is parts for, whoop, almost dropped it, parts for your furnace. So this little guy right here is called a sail switch. So this is a very common part to go out on your furnace. And what this guy basically does is it tells the furnace that yes, the fan is blowing both heat into the house and exhaust outside. It's a safety switch. These are very known to go bad, and when they do, you will not get any heat. I may do a separate video on diagnosing a furnace and stuff. But for sake of this video, having a sail switch is a great idea. The other item for your furnace, specifically talking about that, which I don't have to show you here because I just sold it to a customer, but is a high limit switch. So this switch basically tells the furnace if it's getting too hot, and it'll shut the furnace off. Again, very common component to go bad, and if it fails, you will not get heat. So another thing that can totally save a trip, and this part here, this sail switch is only $20, and I think a high limit switch is a couple more dollars. I think there might be 25 or 30, but very cheap when you're considering you might be way up north or a long way from home. Kind of along that same deal is fuses. So this is a full pack of different fuses for the 12-volt system in my fish house. Now, your fish house may use glass fuses, it may use the little tiny micro ones. Definitely something to pay attention to. Obviously making sure you get the proper fuses for your fish house, whatever it takes. But in my case, it uses the large blade fuses. So that's what I get, and that's what I just keep on hand. Totally save your butt. Another thing is batteries. So batteries, like your small batteries. So I run a thermostat, a digital thermostat. If them batteries go dead, your thermostat doesn't work anymore. So I grab spare batteries along with, and I didn't grab it, but a backup thermostat. Thermostat is another thing with your furnace that can commonly go bad, and having a cheap, just old school dial thermostat is a great thing to have. Side note, you can connect the red and the white wire together on the back of your thermostat and your furnace will run if that's the problem. However, it's not going to cycle. So it's just going to run forever until you run out of propane and bake yourself out of there. So batteries, another good thing to have. The only other parts I'm going to discuss before we move on is generator parts. So I bring an extra quart of oil for my generator. I run a little Honda 2000 watt generator. I like running 530 Mobil 1. Everyone's got their own preference on oil. I am a mechanic. I own a mechanic shop, but pick your own thing. I like Mobil 1 oil, and I run a 530 in the wintertime because it is a little bit thinner weight, and obviously we're running these generators in extreme cold. And then a backup spark plug. Spark plug is another thing on these generators that can go bad, especially in the wintertime. Your air filter can freeze up, which is another thing I actually do bring is a backup air filter. I don't have it in front of me right now, but a backup air filter and anything else you can think of for your generator you may need. But I would say a quart of oil and a spark plug is, again, very cheap, small, easy to throw in the thing, and have if you need it. Totally save your butt. Another item that you could lump into the parts category is a plump full third propane tank. So I bring a full 20-pound propane tank with on every trip. Now that spare propane tank, along with the 230s on the front, can do multiple things that maybe you wouldn't think of. So for instance, if I need to run my double buddy, or in this case my heat hog heater, I have the hose adapter that I can bring that right into the house and run off a full 20-pound versus them little 1-pound canisters that you burn up in about an hour with that thing on high. The other thing, obviously then you can hook up your sunflower to that as well and not have to pull the tanks off the front of the house. But the other thing that folks may not think about that I didn't even realize is you cannot run this style regulator, at least the one I had before, you could not run this unless you have a propane tank connected to each side or some sort of block off to cap one side. But you cannot pull one propane tank off, take it to shore, fill it up, and come back with the other propane tank hooked up and your fish house heating. Now that's a big deal, because if you're out on a long fishing trip and like me, you've got the family with, you might want to just, you run out of one tank a night, you switch tanks over, you run out and you want to just run that one to town and get it filled quick or up to shore. If you don't have another tank to thread on, you can't leave the heat on when you leave. And if it's 20 below, the fish house gets cold pretty quick. And that's a bummer. So that's two reasons I bring another full 20-pound tank. One for backup heat in the house. Two for something else to put onto the fish house to obviously run the furnace if I need to. And to kind of just use as a plug on that side so I can go and fill one of the 30-pounders if they should run out. Alright, so item number 3 on our list of 5 is, or category I should say, is tools. So tools are a really big deal. I can't believe how many guys go out and they don't have anything at all. You're going to want tools, especially if you're bringing parts for your generator and for your furnace, maybe something for your pickup. Tools are a really big deal in order to change anything out. So with tools, a couple of the items, not to go over everything. One thing that almost would have been a part, but is some thread sealing compound. And that is for, you have to get the stuff that is correctly for gas lines. So this is rated to handle LP or propane gas. That's something you're definitely going to want, especially if you got to change out a regulator, you get a leaky fitting going to your stove. You're going to want some thread seal compound to repair that. Some guys like Teflon tape. I like the compound, horse apiece. The other thing I like that a lot of guys, or I always bring, is my digital multimeter. So this is a pretty expensive Fluke one. You don't need this. I use it every day for work, so I have a nice one, but just a cheap one from Auto Value, 20 bucks. Something that'll just tell you if you got battery voltage, AC voltage, and can measure continuity between things. Can really help in diagnosing potential furnace issues, lighting issues, generator problems, anything. It's super nice to know if you've got voltage and where you have voltage too. Some of the other tools I bring, standard crescent wrench, because you can't go wrong, or an adjustable wrench. A few screwdrivers, both Phillips and flathead. Can also work as a pry bar. A nice channel lock for, you know, channel locking things. I also bring a regular pliers, needle nose pliers, everything needed to change a spare tire, or change a tire on the fish house, which I guess is another item, is a spare tire. Yeah, so again, an idea to get you thinking, what tools may I need to change things out in this fish house? Just a simple thing. Doesn't have to be anything special. Some guys like to go out and they buy a big giant tool kit. That's great. I just had a bunch of spare tools laying around. I threw them in the Ziploc. This stays in the fish house. And I also pack kind of a go bag of tools out of my shop when we go on long trips for extra stuff that I may need. So that's category number 3. Let's jump into number 4. All right, the 4th item in this list can be a little controversial on exactly what guys like to bring and what works best. But that item is this guy. And this guy right here will save your butt, guaranteed. So this is a block heater, or in my case, this is a propane tank heater. So I magnet this right to the side of the propane tank. Let me show you. So you'll stick this guy right to the side of your propane tank, just like that, outside on the 30-pound tank that you're drawing from. And what that does is you hook this on your propane tank, obviously plug it into your generator, and it heats the propane inside that propane tank. Now, that may sound dangerous, and it probably is. Guys will argue that these are not safe, these start on fire. Whatever. Guys they'll wrap an electric blanket around them. They make products now, Hardcore Outdoors, I think. There's a few companies, but they make heated sleeve that goes onto the tanks to heat them. But the reason you need to do this is because when your tank gets down to a third full, even if it's extremely cold, it will or may not off-gas enough propane to run your furnace. So what'll end up happening is you'll wake up in the middle of the night. Usually it's at night because it's extremely cold out and everything bad happens at night. You'll wake up and it'll be cold in the fish house, but not freezing, you know. It might be 30 degrees, 20 degrees cooler than it should be. You'll feel for propane coming out of your not propane, but heat coming out of your vents, and it'll just be lukewarm. It won't be hot like it should be. And what's happening is your propane can't off-gas fast enough. So some guys will just run out and flip the tank over. Usually if you have a full tank on the other side, that'll create enough pressure. But if you run one of these and heat your propane, it'll allow that propane to off-gas, and you'll actually, one, save money because you'll burn the propane tank all the way empty. You'll actually use all the propane in that tank, and it'll make your furnace run a lot more efficiently because it's getting the pressure it needs. So especially in this fish house here, it has a 30,000 BTU furnace in it. When it's super cold out, it runs a lot. It burns a lot of propane quickly, and sometimes them tanks just can't keep up with the propane needs that this furnace has when it's that cold. So it can also keep your regulators from freezing. So your regulator can, on your tanks, can also freeze up from the cold propane going through it, and that diaphragm can freeze, causing the same sort of issue, and this will take care of that. So it took me many years to figure this out. I have found this to be the easiest, cheapest, quickest. Anytime it's above 0 at night, or even, you know, single digits below, I don't worry about it. But as soon as you start talking really cold, high winds, you know, anything really below 5 below, especially with wind, I'm putting this guy on. It takes very little power. I'm not sure the actual wattage use, but it takes very little power to run this off your generator, and I can promise you it will help keep you warmer in the middle of the night. All right, and our fifth and final item that you need to have if you're going camping or ice camping in a wheelhouse is a jump pack. Now this jump pack here is awesome. So this jump pack can obviously jumpstart your vehicle. You can hook it to the battery that actually runs the fish house, and it can power the fish house. Now obviously not for a long time, but can get you by for a little while. And in my case, I have a hydraulic lift lower system on mine, so I can hook this onto my hydraulic battery to get the fish house up if it should if that battery should die, go bad, or maybe it just is so cold out it needs a little extra power. This guy can save your butt on that. Now, the reason I like this one, although a lot larger than some of the other small little ones, which definitely have their place, is it has a few other features that are super nice. And the biggest one being is this one is also an air compressor. So if I get a low tire on the fish house, a low tire on the truck, anything like that, I can put this guy on and fill up that flat tire, and that'll help obviously get you off the ice in a bad situation. It also has a couple other nice features. It's got a little LED light, it's got USB charge and a 12-volt socket. Those items aren't as important to me. The biggest thing is it's got a larger battery in it for not only jumping the truck, helping with the fish house, and getting the fish house up off the ice if my hydraulic battery should die for my hydraulics. Also that air compressor. So that is the reason why I bring this this jump pack along. All right, well, there's the 5 items that you need to bring to save your butt and possibly even your life if you're going out ice camping in a big wheelhouse of some sort. Again, those items are backup heat. You're gonna wanna bring spare parts. You're gonna wanna bring tools to replace those spare parts. You're going to want to bring a propane tank heater to keep propane flowing to your furnace, and you're also going to want to bring some sort of jump pack to make sure that you can continue to power your house, and when you want to get off the ice, your truck starts, and in my case, my hydraulics function. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Drop a comment, let me know if I forgot anything or something that you bring that saved your butt. I always like to learn more. And I'm actually packing up to go on a long, very fun fishing trip that we have been looking forward to all year. We're heading somewhere new to us. At least we haven't been there in a very long time. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm posting videos every Thursday. And until next time, you guys have a good one.